I've known Faith for the last 8 months. When I met her, she was very, very shy and scared.
She told me that her stepfather abused her too. She told me that not to blame myself for what happened to me. Most of the time, my mother used to curse me and say, "You got have sex with man, give me this and I can't come in yard."
My mother and I couldn't relate to nothing at all. She even tried to beat me when she found out that I was raped. When I think about things we could share together, she's not here, so I don't want another teenager to lack that.
She said to me that my mother do not know my feelings, so we have to sit down and talk about each other so we can know each other's feelings. Yeah, she helped me a lot with my mother.
It's very important to have a bond with the child, explain to them from very early what can happen. My daughter, she's now 7. I talk to her about good touch, bad touch, and because most times it's the family members who does the damage. So then I reinforce in her not only strangers should you be afraid of. I teach her to trust me enough that she can come to me and tell me anything. For somebody who has been raped, don't stop there. Maybe it's hurting, yes, but you can get help. I mean, you can go far, way beyond. Life don't stop there, I swear. I don't think less of myself, I think higher. I want to aim for the sky.
Me and her went through actually the same experience. Me and her is on the same road.
Yeah, up and running. Prison life matters. Yeah, ex-convict here. Yeah. Big up the youth, them a prisoner. Remember them family, friends and relatives, yeah. Them need the assistance, them need the help. Yeah, my people. So we are showing some reality in our everyday life. If there's a normal youth and a woman or a girl that's 8 years have some grievance or carry for whatever reason, everybody know every day think that. And she go report to say a sexually assault her. When a sexually assault or abuse or rape, instantly you get arrested. Once them can find you, you get locked up and charged instantly. Then when them go to court, them find out if it goes sign or go so. And there are many a times, not all the times, but many a times, when them go to court, it is proven, more than proven, that the complainant is lying or was a made up story, or some vindictive feelings, or some bad mind, cold-hearted, evil something that go on or did go on. And them waste the court time, them waste the court money. Them waste the court time, them waste the court money. And them do just about a evil act pan the person when them complain pan. And it just fly through the window and nothing of it. And this is just blatant injustice, left, right, centre, anywhere you look on it. Anywhere you look on it. So that's one of the law them and something we have to look into and fix up. And there are many more. Just for example, most time a prosecutor become a judge. And that is just one next injustice against the youth. Them, because when we say prosecutor, for the whole entire years, them a be a prosecutor is them a be against the people of Jamaica and the youth, for send them to prison to find them guilty. And to make somebody that been just doing one thing one way for years to become a judge. What do you think of that, people? When you think about it, when I say nothing, but that's something we need to check out and need to look into again. And a few more said we will eat more, but we can't do everything one time. So check it out. So some more right there.
For Youth and Culture, Senator Damian Crawford here, counseling psychologist Annette Richards joins him now as we talk about what are some of the things that we perhaps can do from a administrative level, as well as to get the expertise from someone who deals with folks who have gone through this and how they can deal with the trauma of going through it. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
And thank you for being here. Sir Damian, I'm going to start with you because you've put 4 points I see forward that you think need to be implemented.
Yes.
The government needs to implement to do more about this. You know, there are always those folks who will say, boy, Damien is politicizing the issue, and, you know, why is this a government issue? No, when it wasn't a government issue before. But really, we're hearing so much more about this that something needs to be done. So what are the points you've moved forward?
Well, firstly, people should understand that anything that has to do with policy implementation or development is a political issue. That's different from politicize, which means to seek political advantage. So people always mistake seeking political advantage from an issue than from seeking to implement policy direction or policy conversation around an issue. That's not politicizing. That's the first thing. The second thing is we're in crisis situation. In 2018, 15,000 children were reported to be abused. That's 8.5% above 2017. Yeah. And 2019 trends are suggesting another increase. There's over 1,000 per month.
Yeah.
So we looked at that situation and said there needs to be a crisis response. And ADPEM is a very good example of how to respond to crisis. Firstly, when there's a hurricane threat, ADPEM carries all the agencies together that has anything to do with the possibilities of outcome. So there's a Ministry of Youth and Education, and there's a Ministry of Security. In this particular case, both are concerned. And so therefore, all those agencies, their expertise, their budgets should come together to respond. Secondly, a criminal or a pervert doesn't seek a time. He seeks an opportunity. And what with shift systems are creating are opportunities because parents are out and children are home. Shift system in schools. So we actually have primary schools on shift, which means that a 7-year-old is getting herself ready at 11 o'clock to go for 12. Or a 12-year-old is home alone because the parents are from 12 to 7. And so recently in Portland, for example, a child at 11 a.m. was getting a shower or a bath outside, was pounced upon by a pervert who raped that child because she was home alone. So we have removed the cover of adult protection with this shift system that exists in particular in some of the schools. Thirdly, that there should be a sexual registry. Now, the research shows that the sexual registry don't deter the person from acting, but it informs the community and prepares the community. So a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't create a deterrent, even from reoffending and intent.
Yeah. Rate of recidivism is usually high, but at least you can know
but the community is prepared, and the parent is better prepared. So we felt that was also necessary. And
then you want to increase the guidance.
We wanted to increase the number of guidance because of the impact. Now, the problem that we have found is that fear, and a greater expert is here.
Yeah.
Fear is kind of hereditary, but it also doesn't only affect the person who is directly affected. So when a child is raped, for example, the other children become fearful that this is possible for us. When somebody is killed, the community become fearful that this is possible.
Yeah.
But also, we are harming the next generation because you pass on fear to your children in your stories.
Yeah.
So, for example, if my father was killed in half a tree, my mother telling me of that, I become fearful of half a tree. We have a system where the recommended guidance counseling is 1 to 250. In Jamaica, we have 1 to 1,000. And that's in the secondary schools. In the primary school, we have none. Oh. We don't facilitate guidance counseling in the primary schools.
And every time, well, not every time, but sometimes the young boys behave and everybody say, oh, so society stay, and them see that from them this and them see that from. Why is this happening? Where this come from?
Why do we have the boys behaving?
No, why
why we at crisis levels now?
Why are they pouncing
what has changed?
Well, what I have observed is that we're at a crisis level because over a period of time, we continue in Jamaica to undervalue the need for counseling. And so we have layers and layers of incidents affecting persons. And then from that, what happens is that it's not dealt with, and so a victim becomes a perpetrator.
Yes, a cycle.
That can happen,
right.
And the cycle can
Right,
continue.
right.
And so if we have less boys who are being attended to, even through counseling, because we feel that, well, I'm supposed to tough and rough and so on, then the next thing is that a boy can become less healed, less emotionally and therapeutically sound, and then from there, it is likely that he can perpetuate anger issues coming out in his behavior.
The senator already said that we don't have enough guidance counselors, so how do you address that problem?
So before you make that point, I just want to qualify, there are also offenders who are women. So let me just...
Yes,
Right,
yes,
it's not only the boys, right.
That is
Okay.
quite so. And so we are looking, you remind, the point that you were just making was that you were saying that we continue not to attend to the young men, and how can we get around to this? And one of the reasons is that the boys in general are not really looked at, and the ratio of counselors in the schools being so low, it provides inadequate attention for the children. Might I also add that I've also worked in the schoolroom, in the classroom, as a dean.
And discipline?
So, yes.
Rough,
and so
right?
when you have that, what you have is that you have a school that might have over 1,000 children looking to one dean or one guidance counselor, and then that the ratio is totally out
What
of...
think you of the proposals raised by our senator? Greater collaboration between the ministries, public sex offenders registry, the shift system, remove that, increase the number of guidance counselors?
Definitely increase the number of guidance counselors, and ensure that the ratio is more realistic.
Yeah.
Can I just interject quickly as well on the importance of guidance counseling in schools?
Yeah.
You see, the immediate response from being a victim isn't always to speak today. Now, when the person is in school, there are better relationships that have been developed as versus when you go to the victims.
Well, you can go to the victim services division,
So,
and there are other places where care is
which is
provided.
also underfunded and undermanned. But I'm saying the guidance counselor would have had a greater relationship with the child, having interacted over 5 years with the child.
Not necessarily. It can happen, but not necessarily, because some children may prefer to dialogue with someone else other than their guidance counselor.
Right.
So it's not something that follows through.
Right.
So, go ahead, Damien.
I also want to jump on your point where you said that sometimes they pass on bad influence. Some women as well being affected by men before handle their sons in different ways. But our nation has failed to accept that it's not a gene to parent. It's a lesson that people need to learn. And there's no training, even in schools. Now, every 15-year-old on average, most will become a parent. And we have a capture of people in schools. All of us go to secondary schools. And within those schools, there's no parenting training to equip a person at 25 to know what to do and how to do it.
And I quite agree with you, Damien, because what I realize is that not enough time is being spent on parenting. As I always go back to this whole statement, we often prepare persons to deal with animals, husbandry and all of that. But then how much preparation is given into preparing the parents and the caregivers who will then nurture the next generation?
For that. So what would be your, Annette, I'm going to give you the last word because we have to go. What say you to the young person who's watching, the young man or the young woman who has been a victim of sexual abuse, who is afraid to speak out, who does not want to speak out, who is fearful to speak out, either because of shame or repercussions, or what say you to that individual?
I would encourage that person to really remember that it's important to express themselves, express to other persons, the right persons, not those who will tease and so on, but those who will support. There is what we call safe persons. A safe person is someone you feel comfortable with, who is a responsible person, maybe a teacher, a caregiver who you know has a track record of being reliable.
Because problem is that a lot of the safe persons are the persons who perpetrate the abuse.
And it can happen, yes, it does happen.
The government could always have a list of volunteers, especially technology will allow, from churches, etc., that even by telephone, persons could now be able to interact.
Yeah, my people, and don't get it twisted for a minute, like we are saying, we don't know say pervert out there, and some gruff boy, we can't hold them on. And I look on the little girls, them and little boys, and I do all kind of thing. And we want the worst penalty for them, we never want to get into that car, it got sound too harsh. Because you know we have youth, them a grow, and we know say, yeah, rank can't beat right no time at all. So all them youth there, them so-called thugs there, whosoever know what they don't allow the little pit them. We are begging to allow the little pit them. You see me I say, I leave them for the future. And they will take on half of them. You see what I say? I want the system deal with them, set a crocodile, do in the worst way possible. Once you're sure, say, and them do the act, and put them through the real justice. You see me? The real court of law where I give equal rights and justice. No fairy tale, no battle pan catch. So you go.